following Jack Bannon. That should be easy.
Thank you for bringing Pennyworth to us.
It's my pleasure. The point is to make things that if nobody ever watched them, it doesn't matter. So when people do actually see them, you're like, oh, great, you like it.
Yeah. So what was it about this character that made you want to bring it to life?
I think it's not just about being British and saying, oh, God, we can go to a DC 1960s world. And that was just like I mean, just creatively, like the juices were flowing that day. I think it's just I think both myself and Bruno understood what it was to be a underprivileged Londoner, unparented, not so much with Pennyworth, but the idea of making our way in a world which was leaned heavily towards not helping us back. And that drive and that determination and that integrity that he had, I think he represents what every young man should be. Full of drive, full of promise, but he can speak to a gardener or a gravedigger the same way he can talk to the Queen of England.
So you have something called the Raven Society now. I know there's touches of DC hits in here. Is that any way related to what we have now, the Court of Owls?
Well, that would be the American version of it. We were thinking more like in the 80s, England is going to be V for Vendetta. So you look at that oppressive government and you go, if we didn't grow up from the war, if the war didn't end the way you wanted it to, England would always hold on to those Victorian Gothic values and oppress anything that would reach out for future and reach out for America and all those upstarts out there. So England is remaining this Victorian oppressive society. So that's where the Ravens came from. It is Court of Owls in a way. I just think whereas Court of Owls was grown out of 100 years of Gotham, this is grown out of 2,000 years of rule.
So can we expect some more Alan Moore influence in the series?
I think Alan Moore is always somebody that I've reread and read again, just because what I take from him is like Watchmen. It's V for Vendetta. You don't question the world. So much energy is put into creating the world, and any story you tell within that, a la Watchmen, is believable because it's grounded. You know, so much seems real, and yet something weird goes by the window. So much seems real, except cops come in with guns. So much seems real, but when a superhero type character enters, he feels like he belongs in that world. That world building is very difficult. It's a lot easier to just say, you know, wear that outfit and I'll meet you out front here, daylight San Diego, and we'll have some cops show up and say, what happened here with that body? It's just that's not as much fun as going deep and spending 6 months designing a world that you think you know, but it's the DC version of the world you think you know. Then anything can happen. And that's when we started talking about what happened to Jack the Ripper. Nobody ever caught him. You know, what's Dick Turpin doing? Are there descendants of Sherlock Holmes? Was he a real cat? Myra Hindley, you know. And we started to bring up all these great mythological and great fictional characters from amazing books going all the way back into Victorian times in England and going, we have a whole plethora of amazing British villains who've been stolen from Dracula onwards.
There's so few female villains used in fiction, so what was the inspiration behind creating this character and then also casting Paloma specifically?
Well, Bruno is adamant about that. There isn't enough female villains, and in Gotham we did that so many times that there's something about a female villain that gets to your core. They're just deeper people. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the depth, but it's also the power that they have over men. Whereas guys can just go at it all day. It's just but a woman will say one thing and destroy you. It's So I think the body language of Paloma was something we worked on, because I said in silhouette, without a word spoken, she should have her own body language. And this was something I got from Gotham. Whereas like when Penguin walked and stood there, or when Corey came in, there's a body language that if we were making a silent film or showing this without subtitles in the Philippines, everyone would get exactly what's going on. And so I talked about that with Paloma. I was embarrassed when I saw her self-tape that I didn't know who she was. I just saw this woman in leopard skin pants on a leopard skin couch with palm tree wallpaper. And I was like, who the fuck is that? And then she started speaking. I was like, that's her. So I met her. I was like, who are you? And everyone was like, YouTube it, you idiot. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh. And then, but we talked about the first time you see her having that bag and doing that. And the only movement that she would do is slightly that way. That when you're in her presence, something unnerves you and you're terrified because she has made you from 100 yards away in 3 seconds. She doesn't need to run, she doesn't need to be violent because she knows who she is, and that rage is so deep down within her that if she decides to take out 1% of that, you should be scared of that. If it all comes out, let's just empty the building.
Pennyworth is so much sexier than any Batman universe I've ever seen. Did you get the...
Thank you.
Huh?
You make me want to cry.
It is very sexy. I saw the first 5 episodes and I was like, I want to be in there, but not the violent part.
Do you know how fucking hard it is to do this job? Thank you.
It is very beautifully done, and I've fallen in love with the show.
Oh, great.
But I was trying to figure out what spy did you sort of get the feeling for? Because it's not 007 to me.
No, it was Harry Palmer. Not completely Harry Palmer. So much of it was based upon, like I said, myself and Bruno putting our own shit into it. But when Michael Caine played Harry Palmer in what was the film, The $1 Million Brain and A Funeral in Berlin and the Ipcris File. He was a working class guy who goes into a spy world where everyone's like, just do the paperwork, and he would sit there and he'd be like, and he'd go his own way. And I took that part of him. Whereas Jack will stand there and he'll listen to you, but he knows where he wants to go. He's a man you can't contain. And like I said, he's so approachable and charming, not in a fake way, not in a I'm going to tell you something just to keep. He's actually find something obvious and standing out about everybody and talk about that. And when we have those scenes in the pub or the scenes with his family, some of the best scenes in that show are when his mum says to him, he goes out because he's going to kill somebody, he's got a gun in his pocket and he hides it from her, and then she goes, wipes his face with it, licks her fin and wipes his face. He's like, Mum. And he walks out and you're like, yes. I think even though the world was hard to construct and visual effects wise you can't do big visual effects, you have to hide them. So you're constantly removing New London and all that stuff, but every environment you put them in is to create people that not only do you believe in, but you want to be in that pub, you want to be in his house and have dinner with his mum, the casting is essential for us to relate to those people, so that no matter what story we throw at you, you go, I'm on our journey with you. So thank you, that's hard.